Welcome to The Dental Deal, the podcast for dental professionals exploring a DSO partnership. In each episode of The Dental Deal, the 7 Pillars team will demystify the world of DSOs. 7 Pillars has helped countless dental professionals achieve their dreams of growth and expansion by connecting them with the right DSOs. In this episode, Brett invites Dr. Jason Montgomery to the show. Jason met his wife in dental school over 20 years ago. They merged practices 2 years ago and then transitioned to a DSO a few months ago. Brett and Jason discuss what factored into his decision and what he's learned along the way. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and be sure to join us for our upcoming episodes. Until then, keep smiling. Over to you, Brett.
Thanks and welcome guys to today's episode where I have Jason Montgomery, a rock star dentist out of Dallas here who just absolutely crushed it with his recent dental transition to a DSO. And so today we're going to spend some time talking to Jason, learning more about his experience and understanding how the process went for him and how things are going now. So Jason, thanks for coming today, man. Like lots of stuff happened. You recently closed. It was only a short time ago. Yeah. I think we might as well start. Just tell us a little bit about you and kind of what's your professional history like and about the practice.
I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and went to Texas A&M.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah, yeah. My wife doesn't hold it against me too much.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
She went to UT. She's actually my dental partner now. I grew up in. My dad was a vet. You know, always wanted to do something in the sciences, and I got introduced to a dentist in college. And
so you have a Longhorn and an Aggie, not only sharing a house.
Oh yes.
But sharing a practice.
Yes. And it's going to be really tense next year when we start playing each other.
Oh, that's right.
It'll be trouble. Went to Baylor Dental School, graduated in 1999, met Dr. Sivie, my wife and partner there. She started practicing with a dentist in Plano, Texas, straight out of school as an associate. You know, I jumped around. I ended up buying a practice in Plano. 2 years ago, her partners decided he wanted to retire.
Yeah.
And it was a great time to transition, so we bought him, and then we merged our practices together. And
that's what's so cool. You merge 2 different practices. We go through a lot of these mergers on the private side where doctors try to kind of merge together, and it's not always easy.
Oh, yeah.
And the doctors have different personalities, and honestly, you and your wife have different personalities also.
Oh, yeah.
How you guys did that was really impressive and really quick. Maybe there's some tricks or tips on how that went, or
there was a lot of moving parts, a lot of girls, a lot of personalities, but it's been incredible. So
and 1 + 1 actually ended up equaling 3 in this situation.
Absolutely,
it sounded like.
Yeah. So we, Dr. Williams had a great practice, and it's been a smooth transition. Most of those patients stayed, so it's really helped us.
That's really cool. So I mean, you had this great practice, this growing. Everybody kind of knows. I mean, most of our viewers aren't from Dallas, but if you're from Dallas, you're probably familiar with one of you two.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so you have this great thing going. Life is good. The merger was somewhat complete, or pretty much complete. So at what point did you start like considering a transition, or just understanding your options, or kind of what spurred that conversation?
We wanted a clean exit strategy.
Okay.
And so we started thinking down the line, what that might look like, and did a DSO have a part of it? Mm-hmm. Does a private party bias? So we looked at our practice and what's happening. The kids coming out with so much debt, and it has been really hard for someone to come in and buy our practice.
My goodness, yes.
And we've seen and talked to have other friends that are trying to sell big practices and having a really hard time. So we thought a dental partnership might be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a common situation. If you're almost a victim of your own success, right? Like this practice is so big, and we're doing so great. It would take like a whole class of dental school kids to buy this, and they already have, as you said, a lot of encumbrances on themselves right now already,
Absolutely.
right? Okay, what are my options here? It doesn't seem that there's a ready and willing buyer on the private side. There's all this, noise about DSOs and the world's coming to an end, or the world's starting again, or whatever depending on your opinion of it, right? So then there's this DSO stuff, but it's all this amorphous. Like, what does all that mean? Like, what did you you eventually came to talk to us, but what were your initial thoughts of the DSOs and how all that looked?
Our initial experience were probably the horror stories that we'd heard. Why are you going to sell? Just keep all the money for yourself. Keep all the profits for yourself. they took over, they changed, staff left. So those are the stories that we're hearing, so that was our initial impression of the DSO world. We knew that, we had some friends that go through in it as well. So, and that's how we, found you guys.
Yeah.
Through an orthodontist friend of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we originally had spoken to one of the big firms. I had a 15-minute conversation with somebody, and they just said, "Send your numbers, and we'll get you fixed up." So I was like, whoa. So, and our friend,
a little more personal than that,
absolutely,
right?
yeah. And so our friend couldn't, recommend you guys enough, and
well, there's a lot of moving parts, and I know since we started talking, there's been a lot of education, kind of on all sides of what does this look like. Everybody has their own opinions of this based on some baggage in their previous life, or they had a sister who worked for Pacific Dental and didn't like it or something, and then they likened that to kind of what's happening now. But these things are very different, right? And since your close happened, and we'll get back into the journey, but since your close happened, like there's been, what does that look like so far?
So it's funny, we're talking to our staff, and it's like, when is the change going to happen? It's like, It's like, we told you nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to be different is the name on the checks.
Yeah.
And they just didn't believe us. And so we had our partner, their consultant that was, helping us with the transition, into their company, and they kept coming. It's like, what's going to change? When are you going to start doing this? It's like, I'm not doing anything unless you ask me to.
Yeah.
It's been the eye opener for all of us. So, but it's been fantastic so far.
And I think you guys are going to be successful because I think you guys asked a lot of questions. You're very inquisitive.
Yeah.
What do all these things mean? There's all these like weird financial terms being thrown around. Like it would be no different than me trying to talk specific dental things with you. And I think the partnership worked in that fashion. Like I know what to ask for. You know how to answer the certain questions. And so I think talk a little bit about the process that we went through together, and kind of what were some of the things that you learned through that process. Because you guys were not comfortable with this when we started, right? Like,
oh no,
because you didn't know it, but
we didn't even know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
So we were just lost in the woods. And we're fortunate enough being in Dallas that we were able to have dinner with you and Michael.
Yeah.
So we had a great time, and I think the first thing you told us is that if they're in this for the money, that's not the right reason.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with us, and it's true. We're looking for a partner, in something, because we have at least 7 to 10 more years to practice.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to, it's more than the money. But so you kind of led us down the path. You asked us what we want out of the deal.
Some uncomfortable questions.
Absolutely,
sometimes, right?
absolutely.
Like
it's like
things that we got to think about.
We had to, look at each other and it's like,
That's right.
Yeah, who's gonna answer this?
It's always interesting with the spouses, but when the spouses are also in the practice, like there's a lot of conversations that may need to happen.
So you and Michael, you asked us some leading questions to try to get us to open up and see if it would have been a good fit for the partnership and what we wanted out of the experience.
Yeah.
And
because they're all different. Like once you've seen one DSO, you've seen one. It gets kind of hard to differentiate sometimes between all of them.
But that's that's true to a point too. But you took us through the gamut of a giant DSO to one that was just getting started.
Yeah.
Or we didn't even talk to a dentist. We talked to private equity guys. So I think they had 4 practices and the another one had 500. So so we got to see a lot of personalities. We went dinner with different groups. So
there's all these characters in these plays. It's the financial sponsor. It's the business development guys. It's the clinical guys. And they're all good at what they do, and some are meant to be likable, some are meant to be financial guys. And it was a particularly good experience with you guys kind of going through all of that and seeing how you guys reacted, and because you like some people that Nicole didn't, and the inverse is true, and it was fun to see how that ended up playing out, and you really found the perfect partner, I think, and I feel like you understand what you're getting yourself into, the risks, the rewards, the things like that. Because there's nothing's going to be perfect.
Yep.
But yeah, when you want to, you needed an accelerator in your practice.
Yep.
This is what's different. Everybody has these different reasons why they're doing this, and there has to be a non-financial reason to do
Yep.
this, right? And
Yep.
one of yours was you told me was like, I think I've grown my practice as much as I can
Yep.
without some extra support.
Correct.
Because you guys are still the business leaders. You're both producing like crazy still, so there's not a ton of time to
Yep.
just be the boss,
Correct.
or whatever it is.
Correct. And so Nicole and I, we felt like we were on an island, even though
Yeah.
we're a big practice.
Sure.
And we hear all these other things happening, you're a big practice, but we still didn't have economies of scale. And, we're very, busy metropolitan area with a lot of dentists. There's 27 dentists on our intersection. It's 27 general dentists. And, growing, still wanting to grow our practice. We don't want to ride off into the sunset. We want to grow and pass it off to the next dentist and be proud of what we've done, and just keep the legacy going. So that was, played into a lot of it as well.
That's one thing that stuck with me, and I don't remember if it was you or Nicole or both of you, but it was, what is this thing going to look like when we're gone?
Yep.
These people inside, the employees, they helped us, like you guys more than almost anybody, like you're like, we love these people.
Yep.
These people have got us to where we are. How can I ensure that they're taken care of moving forward? And the same sentiment what you said about the patients, because
Yep.
this is a big deal. It's like
Yep.
you can't just like take a bag of money and leave,
Nope.
and leave the staff and the patients. That's not how this
Yep.
is going to work.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if it was you that told me this, Nicole, was like 10 years from now, I may not be working, but I don't want to be like embarrassed to drive by my
Sure.
office because
Yeah.
it's turned into a Chuck E. Cheese or something.
Absolutely.
And so, while we don't know what that looks like in
Yep.
10 years from now, I love that sentiment, and that was one of your guys' whys.
Absolutely,
Actually,
yep.
it was like this whole thing is dependent on us,
Yep.
and if we go away, these people don't have jobs,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
these patients don't get the care.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's 27 other people who would take them.
Oh, yeah, gladly.
Probably. You know,
But I have grandparents, and I'm seeing their grandkids and the
That's
whole
wild.
family. And, I've seen kids, I'm only 50, but I've seen kids grow up and
Yeah.
start having kids, and I'm seeing their kids. So, we have a vested interest in the practice. And, kind of, you talked to the point about being proud. One of the things Dr. Sivie and myself talked about is like, we've known some people that are partnered, and they won't admit it.
yeah.
They won't say who they partnered with or that they even did it. So we wanted something that we're proud that we're
love
part
that.
of this, And
I love that.
And we've, we're proud to tell people, and we're not ashamed of what we've done.
I love that. I mean, one of the things that for the listeners here is, if you're thinking about a partnership and you're going to want to hide it, and you're going to be embarrassed about it,
Yep.
don't do it because it ain't worth it.
No, absolutely not.
Right? Like,
Yep.
imagine if you were embarrassed about this. I mean, you wouldn't be here,
Oh,
like,
no.
right? You wouldn't
No,
probably ever
yeah.
talk to me again.
No,
right?
it's
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good litmus test. Like,
Yep.
if an announcement were to come out tomorrow that you partnered with X group,
Yep.
would you be proud of it, or would you be like, man, I wish
Sure.
they didn't say
Yeah.
anything?
And that was probably our thought initially.
I
we
love
don't
that.
want anybody to know we're doing this. And,
Yeah, sure.
But now we're proud of it. We're happy to be a part of that team, and they don't take everybody.
No, they certainly don't.
They take a select few, and we're proud to be part of what they're doing.
And to be fair, I mean, you got this amazing deal, but to be completely fair, you guys made it easy. Like, I wasn't having to polish I wasn't having to polish a turd
Yep.
for you guys, right? Like,
Put lipstick on a pig?
Yeah, there you go. That's a
Yeah.
little more appropriate, probably. Okay. I didn't go to dental school, so
Yeah.
maybe that's
Well, we learned all those things in dental school.
Okay. So you guys made it easy. You had an amazing deal, but I think one of the things that I run into with a lot of doctors is they focus so much on just the first transaction, and they don't worry about the second transaction. By that I mean when that DSO sells again, and what life looks like.
Yep.
So like you guys, actually, I didn't have to really push you guys to think in those terms that much. Just talk a little bit about like how the first transaction is important, but like
Yep.
we're looking at this long term.
So we looked at, I remember that we had a meeting, we'd met with, 10 different DSOs, like we talked about, from the big to the small. Together we had narrowed it down to 3, and then we got the deals from the 3. And, we look at them, and, initially it's more money than we thought we would have ever gotten at the end. The initial money was more money than we thought we would have sold our practice for. In total.
Yeah.
And then we look at the future, and it's life-changing money. It is truly, like, how could you not do this, especially with the opportunities that this company's given us.
With all the things that are happening.
All the things that are happening. It's just, it's amazing. And it's, you laid it out for us, here's what you can get, but here's the future.
Yeah.
And the big
with
picture.
some modest assumptions,
Sure.
really. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
like, for those, we run these models.
Yeah.
We put in a variety of assumptions and variables that we can change back and forth. Aggressive to conservative to, borderline bankrupt, which I don't think could happen.
Yeah.
So there's just
If it hits the fan.
if it hits the fan,
Yeah.
within a window of reasonability.
Sure.
It compounds pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and that's if this second transaction could be more valuable than the first.
Absolutely.
If you pick the right player.
Absolutely.
Instead of just like, we're going to haggle and argue about EBITDA and multiples and all those things on the front side. But boy, does that partnership matter. You're getting married a little bit
Absolutely.
here, right? And so,
Yep.
and you want to like what you're doing. So right now, you guys are proud of what you're doing. The staff is fine.
Sure. Yeah.
I know that's always a nervous, kind of a nervous
Oh
moment,
yeah, and
right?
that was the biggest, the most nerve-wracking thing for Nicole and I was telling the staff.
Yeah.
And I was dreading it, and
Yeah.
Christy helped us a little bit with the wording, and but it went fine.
I'm fine
And,
there.
Yep.
Generally, like, are you still my boss?
Yep.
Am I going to have to
Yeah.
work more? Am
Sure.
I getting paid the
Yeah.
same?
Yes. Yeah.
All these things are
Yeah.
true, and obviously the relationship that you guys have with
Yeah.
your staff is
Yeah.
hugely important. And well, man, you did it. You're in a great spot. This is just the beginning of
Yeah.
kind of the next step.
Well, I couldn't imagine doing it without you guys. So it was an unbelievable experience, and it was actually fun. We were dreading it, but meeting you and Michael and the whole team,
I had fun,
Christy,
too.
Maddie, and just with us every step of the way, it made it easy.
Well, thanks for being here, Jason.
Yeah.
You did it, man.
Thanks for
really
having me.
proud of you.
Yeah.
You crushed it, you and Nicole.
Well.
And you made it easy on us, too. So we enjoyed it.
We couldn't have done it without you.
I appreciate that. So to all listeners out there and the viewers, this is one of many stories that we have. There's a lot to know in this transition world. Maybe a DSO is right for you, maybe it's not, but at least it's worth a conversation to understand. So until the next episode, my name is Brett with 7 Pillars. This is Jason Montgomery, Rockstar out of Dallas.
Yeah.
See you then.
Thanks for listening to The Dental Deal, a podcast for dental professionals considering a DSO partnership. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and be sure to join us for our upcoming episodes. Until then, keep smiling.